Now I'm going to be working on number 3. If you start with 20 grams of H2 gas, that's what I know, how many grams of N2 gas are needed to fully react with it? So start by writing what you know, which is 20 grams of H2 gas. 20 grams H2. Now remember, to get from grams of something to grams of something else, you need 4 steps. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm already drawing in my lines. First thing I want to do is cancel grams of H2, and I want to end in moles of H2. And remember, I'm just following these steps up here. And I put my molar mass of H2 down here, which you find on the periodic table. My next step is to go from moles of H2 to what I'm looking for, which is N2. So I write moles of H2 at the bottom, moles of N2 at the top. And now I'm going to use my molar ratio for my balanced equation. I have 3 moles of H2, and for every, I underlined the wrong one, huh? For every 1 mole of N2. So I accidentally underlined NH3, but that was a mistake. I was just testing you guys. The coefficient in front of N2 is a 1. And then at the very end, I want to cancel my moles of N2. So this is always going to be a 1, and I'm going to go into grams of N2. And I'm going to fill in this box with the molar mass of N2. So let's fill in my final 2 molar masses. Grams of H2 can be found on the table. It's 1 gram times 2 H's. So I have 1 gram times 2 H's in H2. And for N2, N is right here. It is 14 times 2. Oh, I went out of focus there for a second. Okay, I think we're back in focus now. I do 14 grams for my N times 2, which is 28 grams. I'm going to fill that in here. My next step is to multiply everything in my numerator. So that would be 20 times 1 times 1 times 28. For 560. Divided by 2 times 3, everything in my bottom, times 1. 2 times 3 times 1 is 6. So I'm going to do 560 divided by 6, which is 93.33 grams. So 93 grams of N2. I'm going to do one last example problem on page 20, and the rest of the problems you guys should try on your own and check your answer key to see how you're doing with them. If a reaction starts with 360 grams of glucose, C6H12O6, how many grams of carbon dioxide were produced? So this again is a grams to gram stoichiometry problem. I'm marking down what I know, and I put a question mark under what I'm looking for. I start by writing what I know. 360 grams of glucose, C6H12O6. And since this is a grams to grams problem, I need to have 4 conversions. So I'm going to write them in. I'm going to cancel my grams of C6H12O6. And I want to be in 1 mole of C6H12O6. I'm just going to abbreviate it as CHO. And I put the molar mass down there. So let's look up our masses of C, of H, and of O. And after I've looked up those masses, I'm going to multiply them by the number that there are in that equation. So C has a mass of 12, O 15.999 or 16, and H 1. So C is 12, H is 1, O is 16. There are 6 C's in in C6H12O6. There are 12 H's, and there are 6 O's. So I'm going to multiply 12 times 6, 1 times 12, and 16 times 6. So 12 times 6 is 72. 1 times 12 is 12. 16 times 6 is 96. Now I add up those masses to find the molar mass. So I have 72 plus 12 plus 96. 72 plus 12 plus 96, which is 180. So I'm going to put 180 down here because that's the molar mass of glucose, C6H12O6. My next step is the molar ratio to get from my moles of A to my moles of B. In this case, my moles of B is carbon dioxide. So if you look at your equation, carbon dioxide is over here, CO2. So I'm going to cancel my moles of glucose, and I want to be in moles of CO2. And so I'm going to use the coefficients from my balanced equation. The coefficient in front of glucose is nothing, so I assume a 1. The coefficient in front of carbon dioxide is a 6. Lastly, I don't want to end in moles of CO2. I want to end in grams. So this number down here is always going to be 1 mole of CO2. And at the top, I put the molar mass of CO2. So C and O. We already have the masses. The mass of C is 12 times 1 C in CO2. The mass of O is 16 times 2 O's in CO2. So I have 12 plus 32, which is 44. So I put 44 grams up here. My final step is to multiply everything in my numerator and divide by everything in my denominator. So I have 360 in my numerator times 6 times 44, which is 95040. So I'm writing that over here. And then at the bottom, I have 180 times 1 times 1. So finally, I'm going to divide 95040 divided by 180. And I got 528 grams of CO2. If you need extra support with this, I'm also going to be posting an optional Khan Academy or other video to help you guys if my videos weren't helpful enough. Also, feel free to text or email if you need help because we are going to have a quiz tomorrow. Good luck, work hard, and finish pages 19 and 20.